Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something straight from the heart today. Success is not a miracle that drops out of the sky, and it's not some lucky break reserved for a special few. Success is a habit, and just like any habit, it's built day by day, choice by choice. When nobody's clapping for you and nobody's watching, too many people are waiting on luck. They're waiting on the right moment, the right connection, the right year, the right sign from the universe. But let me help you out right now. The universe responds to consistency, not wishes. You don't wake up successful one day. You wake up committed, disciplined, and willing to do what others won't do. That's where success starts. See, successful people don't feel motivated every day. They feel tired. They feel frustrated. They feel like quitting just like everybody else. The difference is they don't let their feelings run their lives. They've trained themselves to show up anyway. When it's hard, they show up. When it's boring, they show up. When results are slow, they show up. That's a habit, and habits don't care how you feel. Let me tell you something else. Your background doesn't disqualify you. Where you came from does not decide where you're going. What decides your future is what you practice daily. If you practice excuses, you'll get really good at failing. If you practice effort, discipline, and faith, you'll eventually get good at winning. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. A lot of people start strong, but they don't last long. They get excited for a week, maybe a month, and then life hits them. But success belongs to people who keep going when the excitement wears off. It belongs to people who understand that boring days, lonely days, and slow days are all part of the process. If you can make consistency your lifestyle, results will have no choice but to show up. And let me talk about mindset for a moment. Successful people think differently. They don't ask, why is this happening to me? They ask, what is this teaching me? They don't see failure as a stop sign. They see it as a lesson. Every setback is information. Every mistake is feedback. When you build the habit of learning instead of complaining, your growth becomes unstoppable. Finally, understand that success is rented, not owned, and the rent is due every single day. You can't live off yesterday's work. You can't depend on last year's effort. Every day asks you the same question. Are you willing to do what success requires today? If you are, and you keep saying yes long enough, luck won't even be part of the conversation anymore. People will call you lucky, but you'll know the truth. You built it. So don't wait on luck. Build habits. Because habits don't lie, they don't disappear, and they don't fail you. If you want a different life, start practicing different habits today. Let me slow this thing down and make this real clear today, because this is where a lot of people get confused. Success is not luck. It is not magic. It is not something that accidentally happens to you while you're sitting around hoping and wishing. Success is created through daily habits, quiet habits, unseen habits, repeated habits, the kind of hat nobody posts about, nobody applauds, but they change your life over time. People love to talk about overnight success. But let me tell you something. Overnight success takes years. What you see on the outside is the result of what someone has been doing every single day when nobody cared. Every successful person you admire didn't just wake up one morning and stumble into greatness. They built a routine. They built standards. They built discipline. And they did it long before the reward showed up. Here's the truth. Your life right now is a reflection of your habits, not your intentions, not your dreams, and not what you say you're going to do, your habits. If you wake up late every day, if you procrastinate every day, if you quit when things get uncomfortable, those habits are shaping your results. And if you consistently wake up early, put in the work, learn, improve, and keep pushing even when it's hard, those habits will shape a completely different future. See, luck is unpredictable. You can't control luck. But habits are in your hands. You decide what time you get up. You decide how you spend your hours. You decide whether you make excuses or make progress. Successful people don't rely on what they can't control. They double down on what they can control, and that's their daily behavior. Let me tell you something else that's important. Habits don't have to be big to be powerful. Small habits done consistently will outperform big efforts done once in a while. Reading a little every day beats reading once a month. Showing up daily beats working hard only when you feel inspired. Making one good decision after another will eventually separate you from people who are more talented than you, but less disciplined than you. A lot of people think they need motivation to start. That's backwards. Motivation comes after action. When you build the habit of doing the work regardless of how you feel, motivation eventually catches up. But if you sit around waiting to feel ready, confident, or inspired, you'll be waiting for the rest of your life. Here's another thing. Habits protect you on hard days. When life hits you, and it will, your habits are what carry you through. When you're tired, when you're discouraged, when results are slow, you don't rise to your hopes. You fall back on your habits. That's why successful people don't fall apart when things get tough. Their habits keep them moving, even when their emotions are all over the place. You don't need luck to be consistent. You don't need luck to be disciplined. You don't need luck to keep showing up. What you need is a decision to stop romanticizing success and start practicing it. A decision to do the same positive things every day, even when it feels boring, even when it feels pointless, even when nobody notices. And let me say this clearly. Habits don't change your life overnight, but they will change your life permanently. Miss one day, it won't ruin you. Quit for months, and it will. Success doesn't come from perfection. It comes from persistence. The people who win are not the luckiest people in the room. They're the people who stayed consistent the longest. Let me talk to you about something that stops more people from succeeding than lack of talent, lack of money, or lack of opportunity, and that is the belief in have to feel motivated in order to move forward. That's one of the biggest lies ever sold. The truth is, consistency matters more than motivation, because motivation is temporary, but consistency can carry you for a lifetime. Motivation comes and goes. Some days you wake up fired up, ready to take on the world. Other days, you wake up tired, frustrated, and questioning everything. Successful people have those same days. The difference is they don't allow their emotions to dictate their actions. They understand that feelings are unreliable, but habits are not. If you only work when you feel good, you will live an inconsistent life with inconsistent results. See, consistency is not about doing something big once in a while. It's about doing something small correctly over and over again. It's showing up when you're tired. It's making progress when nobody is cheering you on. It's staying committed when the results are slow and the excitement is gone. That's the part people don't talk about because it's not glamorous. But that's the part that separates the successful from the average. A lot of people start strong, they go hard for a week, maybe a month, and then they disappear. Why? Because they were running on motivation. And when motivation runs out, so do they. Consistency, on the other hand, doesn't need excitement. It just needs a decision that says, no matter how I feel today, I'm going to do what needs to be done. Let me tell you something powerful. Success doesn't require intensity, it requires longevity. You don't have to be extreme, you have to be dependable. The person who shows up every day with moderate effort will always outperform the person who shows up once in a while with maximum effort. Life rewards reliability. Employers reward reliability. Opportunities come to people who can be counted on. Consistency also builds confidence. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you gain self-respect. Every time you show up when it's hard, you prove to yourself that you can be trusted. And once you trust yourself, your confidence grows naturally. That confidence isn't loud or flashy. It's quiet, steady, and unshakable. Here's another thing: consistency removes fear. When you practice something every day, fear starts to lose its grip on you. The more you do the work, the less intimidating it becomes. What once scared you turns into something familiar. That's how growth happens. Not in big leaps, but in small, repeated steps. You don't need to feel inspired to be consistent. You need structure. You need routine. You need standards for your life. When you rely on consistency instead of motivation, you stop negotiating with yourself every morning. You already know what needs to be done, and you do it. And let me say this: consistency will take you places motivation never could. Motivation might get you started, but consistency will carry you to the finish line. If you can master the habit of showing up, even on the days you don't feel like it, success stops being a question and starts becoming a guarantee. Let me speak to you about something personal, something real, something that holds a lot of people back without them even realizing it. Your background does not limit your future. Where you started to decide where you're going. Too many people use their past as a prison instead of a classroom. They let where they came from define what they believe is possible for them, and that mindset alone keeps them stuck. Some of you grew up without money. Some of you grew up without support, without connections, without examples to follow. Some of you were told what you couldn't be more times than you were told what you could be. But let me tell you something. None of that disqualifies you from success. The world does not reward your past. It responds to your preparation and your persistence. See, successful people come from every background you can imagine. Rich homes, poor homes, broken homes, small towns, big cities. The common thread is not privilege, it's practice. It's what they decided to do with what they had. You may not control the hand you were dealt, but you absolutely control how you play it. A lot of people stay stuck because they keep replaying their story. I didn't have the right parents. I didn't get the right education. I didn't have the right opportunities. And while some of that may be true, saying focus on it won't move you forward. Success begins when you stop asking, why me? And start asking, what can I do next? Let me tell you something powerful. Your excuses might be valid, but they're not useful. The world doesn't pause because your life was hard. Life keeps moving. And at some point, you have to decide whether you're going to use your past as fuel or as an anchor. One will push you forward, and the other will keep pulling you back. When you bid the haggard a daily effort, your background becomes less important. Consistent action levels the playing field. When you show up every day to learn, to grow, to improve, you start closing the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Hard work won't erase your past, but it will rewrite your future. Another thing people don't realize is that confidence doesn't come from having an easy life. Confidence comes from surviving hard seasons and refusing to quit. When you push through difficulty, when you keep going despite fear and doubt, you develop an inner strength that can't be taught in a classroom. That strength becomes your advantage. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for approval. Stop waiting for someone to notice you. Nobody is coming to save you. That's not bad news. That's empowering news. Because it means your success is in your hands. You don't need to be chosen. You need to choose yourself. And let me be real with you. Your past may explain you, but it does not excuse you. You still have a responsibility to become the best version of yourself. Not for anyone else, but for you, for your future, for the people who will be inspired by your story one day. When you commit to daily growth, when you decide to stop identifying with your limitations and start identifying with your potential, everything begins to shift. Your background becomes part of your story, not the end of the hide. You are not disqualified. You are not too late. If you're still breathing, you still have time. And if you're willing to work consistently, Your past will never be stronger than your future. Let me talk to you about discipline, because discipline is the bridge between who you are today and who you want to become. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, even when every part of you says you don't feel like it. And let me be clear, feelings are powerful, but they are terrible leaders. If you let your emotions run your life, you will live a life full of regret. Most people don't fail because they aren't capable. They fail because they let comfort make their decisions. They do what feels good instead of what's good for them. Discipline is the ability to say no to short-term comfort so you can say yes to long-term success. And that ability right there is what separates the successful from everyone else. You're not always going to feel like waking up early. You're not always going to feel like working hard. You're not always going to feel confident, inspired, or ready. If success depended on feelings, nobody would make it. Discipline steps in when motivation disappears. Discipline says, I'm doing this anyway. Let me tell you something real. Discipline is not punishment. A lot of people think discipline means suffering, but that's not true. Discipline is self-respect. It's telling yourself, I care enough about my future not to sabotage it today. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you build trust within yourself. And once you trust yourself, your confidence becomes unshakable. Life will test you. There will be days when quitting feels easier than continuing. Days when distractions are louder than your goals. Days when nobody is watching and shortcuts look tempting. That's when discipline matters most. Because character is what you do when nobody's around to applaud you. Discipline also creates freedom. That might sound backwards, but it's the truth. When you discipline your time, your money, and your habits, you gain control over your life. When you don't, life controls you. People who lack discipline often feel stuck, stressed, and overwhelmed. People with discipline feel focused, calm, and in control. Here's something else. Discipline doesn't mean being perfect. It means being committed. You're going to mess up. You're going to have off days. The difference is disciplined people don't quit because of one mistake. They get back on track quickly. They don't let one bad day turn into a bad week, a bad month, or a bad year. Let me tell you a secret about discipline. It gets easier with practice. The first few times you choose discipline over comfort, it's hard. But the more you do it, the stronger you become. What once felt impossible starts to feel normal. And that's how growth happens, not through big dramatic changes, but through small disciplined choices repeated daily. Stop asking yourself how you feel and start asking yourself what needs to be done. Feelings will lie to you. Discipline will tell you the truth. The truth is, you already know what you need to do. You just have to be willing to do it even when it's uncomfortable. If you can master discipline, luck becomes irrelevant. Talent becomes secondary. Circumstances become manageable. Because a disciplined person will always find a way forward, no matter how they feel that day. Let me change the way you look at failure, because until you do, success will always feel farther away than it needs to be. Most people are afraid of failure. They avoid it, run from it, and take it personally. But successful people see failure differently. They don't see it as an ending. They see it as information. And that mindset alone can change the direction of your entire life. Failure is not a sign that you're not good enough. It's proof that you tried. And if you keep trying, failure becomes your greatest teacher. Every mistake shows you what doesn't work. Every setback teaches you what to improve. The only real failure is quitting, because quitting stops the learning process altogether. A lot of people fail once and let that moment define them. They say, I'm not cut out for this, or maybe this just isn't for me. But let me tell you something, failure is an event, not an identity. What happened to you is not who you are. If you're willing to learn, adjust, and try again, failure becomes a stepping stone instead of a roadblock. Successful people expect setbacks. They plan for them. They understand that anything worth having will test you. So when failure shows up, they don't panic. They don't fold. They ask better questions. What did this teach me? What can I do differently next time? That's how growth happens, through reflection, not regret. Let me be real with you. Failure will humble you. It will challenge your ego. It will expose your weaknesses. But that's not a bad thing. You can't fix what you won't face. Failure shines a light on the areas where you need to grow. And if you're brave enough to look at it honestly, you come back stronger. Another thing people get wrong is thinking successful people don't fail. That's not true. They fail more than anyone else. The only difference is they don't stop. They keep going. They fail forward. They use each setback as momentum instead of an excuse. You have to build the habit of resilience. When you fall, get back up. When you mess up, correct it. When things don't work out, adjust your approach. Resilience is not about never breaking. It's about refusing to stay broken. And that habit will carry you farther than talent ever could. Stop letting fear of failure keep you stuck in the same place. Playing it safe won't get you where you want to go, and growth requires risk. And risk includes the possibility of failure. But the pain of trying and failing is temporary. The pain of never trying lasts forever. Here's something powerful. Failure loses its power over you once you stop taking it personally. Once you see it as feedback instead of judgment, you stop being afraid. And when fear leaves, action becomes easier. Confidence grows. Progress accelerates. Every successful person you admire has a long list of failures behind them. They just didn't quit when it got hard. They stayed in the game long enough to learn. And that's why they win. Failure is not your enemy. Quitting is. If you're willing to learn from your failures and keep moving forward, success stops being a mystery and starts becoming a matter of time. Let me leave you with something that ties all of this together, because this right here is where most people slip. Success is rented, not owned. And the rent is due every single day. You don't get to pay it once and live off it forever. You don't get to work hard for a season and then coast for the rest of your life. Success requires daily effort, daily commitment, and daily decisions, whether you feel like it or not. A lot of people reach a certain level and get comfortable. They relax. They assume they've arrived. And that's when things start slipping. Because the habits that got you to one level are the same habits required to stay there and grow beyond it. Success is maintained the same way it's built, through consistent action. You can't rely on yesterday's wins. What you did last year, last month, or even yesterday does not guarantee today's results. Every day asks you a new question. Are you willing to show up again? Are you willing to put in the work again? Are you willing to stay disciplined when nobody is pushing you? That's where true success lies, in repetition. Let me tell you something important. Consistency compounds. Small efforts, repeated daily, turn into massive results over time. But the opposite is also true. Small neglects, repeated daily, slowly erode everything you built. Skipping the work once doesn't destroy you. Making excuses regularly will. Success is fragile when effort becomes optional. Daily commitment is not about working nonstop. It's about showing up with intention. It's about doing the important things even when they're not urgent. It's about choosing progress over comfort, focus over distraction, growth over convenience. And those choices, made daily, shape your future. Life doesn't get easier as you grow. Your standards just get higher. New levels bring new responsibilities. That's why successful people don't lower their standards when things get hard. They raise them. They understand that today protects them tomorrow. Another thing people don't realize is that daily effort builds momentum. When you show up consistently, it becomes easier to keep going. You stop relying on willpower and start relying on routine. And routine is powerful. It keeps you moving forward even on days when motivation is low and energy is drained. You don't need to be extraordinary today. You just need to be intentional. You don't need to do everything, you need to do something. Progress is built one day at a time. And when you string enough of those days together, people start calling it success. Stop looking for shortcuts. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Perfect conditions never exist. The people who win are the ones who move anyway. They understand that effort today is an investment in freedom tomorrow. If you can commit to showing up daily, to honoring your habits, to keeping your standards high even when it's uncomfortable, success will stop feeling distant. It will become familiar, normal, expected, because success is not luck. It's not chance. It's not talent alone. It's the result of daily effort and daily commitment, repeated long enough to become who you were meant to be.